aspiramos en general, ¿no?, a tener un mundo en paz, a ir mejorando las condiciones de este mundo, pero por otra parte planeamos experiencias de contraste y de conflicto para crecer. En este sentido, ¿hasta qué punto deberíamos aspirar a un mundo en paz?
I think the aspiration to have a peaceful world absolutely does make sense. The three primary qualities, or the three fundamental qualities of the soul, as I understand it, are love, peace, and joy. So ultimately what we're striving to do as personalities is to bring into the physical plane the three fundamental qualities of our souls, love, peace, and joy. But again, it doesn't do anything for the soul's evolution if there's only one plan for a lifetime and everything is set in stone and we are just robots who mindlessly follow the plan. The way that it has meaning, the way that it brings greater light to the soul, is when you and I and the other personalities on earth consciously choose to bring more love, peace, and joy to everything we do. Again, it's a realm of great contrast. There's light and darkness in every personality. There's light and darkness throughout the world. And what we are doing, I think, is a process, you could call it purification or clarification. It's happening internally as we shift from a mixture of light and dark towards greater light. And as that happens internally, then it manifests externally. The world always mirrors us back to us. So as we purify or clarify internally and create greater love and light within ourselves, that will outpicture or manifest in the world around us. And eventually we will have this world of peace. I think it's going to take some time to get there, but I think we're moving in that direction.
¿Cree que hay un punto en el que se puede seguir evolucionando sin experimentar específicamente dolor o un sufrimiento demasiado intenso? ¿Y en qué caso esto sería así?
As I understand it, in the so-called higher dimensions, all of the evolution is done through loving, joyful experiences. But we are at a stage in our evolution where, as I said earlier, for many beings it's actually necessary for their hearts to be broken open through painful experiences so that they are more motivated to be loving beings and more inspired to be loving beings. That's simply the stage of evolution that most of us are at. But certainly you can use your free will to choose to be the most loving person you can be. And to the extent that someone does that, I believe, and my research shows, that then perhaps some of the planned challenges are no longer necessary. I'll give you another story to make this point more clear. I worked with a woman who is now in her 40s, but she shared with me the following story that took place when she was in her 20s. She and her daughter, who at that time was about 7 years old, they were at a swimming pool during the summer. And the girl was playing in the water, the woman was lying in a lounge chair in the sun next to the pool. All of a sudden, the little girl jumped up out of the water. She ran over to her mother. And mind you, this is a child who previously had never said anything unusual. She ran over to her mother and she said, "You're not waking up the way we planned before we were born, so you're going to have a really bad accident." Well, the mother was horrified. Why is my child saying such strange things? Well, sure enough, a short time thereafter, she had a car accident, which did not trigger a spiritual awakening. About a year later, she had a second and even worse car accident, which did not trigger a spiritual awakening. And then about a year later, she had a third and even worse car accident, which finally triggered a spiritual awakening. Now, in her case, unfortunately, these car accidents were necessary to bring about what she had planned before she was born, which is the spiritual awakening. And this pattern of the accident happening again and again and in increasingly severe form each time, if you see a pattern like that in your life, where the same kind of challenge comes back around more than once and comes back in increasingly intense form, this is your soul really trying to get your attention to do something that you planned to do before you were born. Now, everybody has free will, If you use your free will to spiritually awaken or become more compassionate or forgiving or patient or loving, whatever it is that you plan to learn, then some of these challenges are not needed. In this woman's case, if there had been a spiritual awakening after the first car accident, presumably the second and third car accidents would never have taken place. Or if she had awakened after the second car accident, the third car accident would never have taken place. She might even have used her free will to create some kind of spiritual awakening after her daughter made that comment to her at the pool that day. And in that case, maybe none of the car accidents would have taken place. So there's this intersection between free will and pre-birth planning. And whether or not you face certain challenges and have to go through painful experiences depends basically upon your use of your own free will, how quickly you get the lessons consciously.
Yo diría uno de los mayores males o disfunciones que tenemos hoy día los seres humanos es la distracción, que no vivimos la vida en el presente. Por eso también tantos maestros insistiendo en el aquí y ahora, ¿no? ¿Usted dirías que tiene alguna repercusión el hecho de vivir la vida con plena conciencia o el hecho de vivirla distraídos? ¿Significa el mismo alimento para el alma, la vida vivida de una manera o de otra?
Yeah, I think that there are obviously many distractions in the world today, television being one of the major ones. Drugs and alcohol are ways that people distract themselves. Sex, different sorts of dysfunctional relationships. There are an infinite number of distractions. And I don't think a distraction is necessarily a bad thing, because if you're going through a painful life challenge, it can be helpful to take a break from it and not be focused on it all the time. But certainly many people take distractions too far, and they spend too much time watching television or drinking or whatever it might be, and not actually doing the learning and the work that they came here to do and that they themselves planned to do before they were born. You know, my understanding of Jesus' life is that when he was studying with the Essenes, there was a point at which they came to him and they said, okay, it's time for you to go spend 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. And my understanding of what happened during that time period is that he was basically removed from the distractions of his own life. So he came face to face with all of the darker, more difficult thoughts and emotions that he himself was experiencing during that time of his life. And because there were very few distractions out there in the desert, this was a situation that basically forced him to be more fully present with the difficult thoughts, the difficult emotions. And so by the time the 40 days and nights were over, through a series of inner reflections and mystical experiences, he had essentially mastered the difficult human thoughts and human emotions that he had been experiencing. And that allowed him to go on and do the work that he eventually did. Now, I'm not suggesting that we all need to spend 40 days and 40 nights in the desert, but the idea is that, you know, at a certain point in life, you do have to look very honestly and very squarely at who you are and what are your thoughts that are manifesting in your life. What are the difficult emotions that you're facing? If you spend a lifetime distracting yourself, which you could do, most likely when you have your life review at the end of that lifetime, you will see that you didn't use your time very wisely here, and you will feel a need to come back and repeat some experiences that you didn't master while you were here.
Por lo que leo en muchos sitios, puede ser que el tema este de la distracción tenga incluso otra repercusión, que es el de las almas que no se dan cuenta ni tan siquiera de que han muerto y permanecen atadas como al plano terrestre, manifestándose a veces incluso como lo que conocemos como fantasmas, ¿no? Entonces, en el caso de estas almas, que representa que tienen que ir al plano de luz y reunirse con las otras almas y planificar una nueva vida, ¿qué ocurre en el caso de estas almas que por lo que sea no realizan o no llegan a realizar este tránsito o se demora mucho esto? desde la perspectiva de su trabajo, ¿qué papel tendría este tipo de situación?
This is a little bit beyond my area of expertise, but as I understand it, what you've said is accurate. And there are a number of people, a number of light workers, who their work is focused on helping these souls who are stuck in the lower astral realm to move to the light. A lot of times they don't actually know that they're dead, or maybe they do know that they're dead, but they don't feel worthy of going into the light, or just don't know how to do it. And so there are light workers whose work is focused on contacting these ghosts, if you want to call them that, and telling them that you have in fact left your body, you are dead now, and you need to move on to the light. And usually once they're contacted and told this and given some encouragement that they are worthy of moving into the light and that they can move into the light, then many of them will choose to. Now, an exception to that, if somebody died with a strong addiction to something like alcohol or drugs, or in some cases it can even be cigarettes, in the lower astral realm, they still have a strong desire for the substance. And so what they will try to do is find another person who has a similar addiction, who's still in body. And if there's a weakness or an opening in the person's auric field, they can attach themselves to the auric field and vicariously continue to experience the addiction. That is something that, again, there are light workers focused on doing, and they can help somebody clear their auric field if there is such an attachment. It's not something that people should fear. I don't want that. But it is something to be aware of, that it does happen occasionally, although I don't think very often.
Después hay otro punto que me despierta curiosidad en cuanto a la planificación de almas, que se reúnen varias almas personalidades y se ve a ver qué papel tendrán cada una de ellas. ¿Cómo se consigue que se reúnan todas ahí en ese espacio? Porque tal vez algunas están todavía encarnadas, otras han vuelto a reencarnar ya. ¿Cómo se encuentran todas las necesarias en un lugar concreto para efectuar esa planificación?
Most of those who are involved in the planning are not in body. Occasionally somebody is in body, but as I understand it, they can be part of the planning through the dream state. In other words, when a person dreams at night, sometimes they leave the body in their spirit body or light body, and they can travel to another person's pre-birth planning session and participate in it that way. And actually, even after we come into body, at night when we sleep, when we dream, we leave our bodies and we meet with the other significant people in our lives. And we talk about how are things going, are we doing what we came here to do, how can we modify the plan to accomplish our pre-birth intentions. We all have meetings like that with our loved ones on a regular basis. And this is, again, another way in which pre-birth plans are not set in stone, because they're modified frequently through these conversations that take place while we sleep at night.